Joining me today. Come on in. And whole body health. So as a reminder, we're going through Dr. Lewis's 8 steps here. We're going to just recap real briefly on why a healthy gut matters. So as we're probably already aware of now, since this is, I said, part 4, we got 95% of our serotonin, which is a hormone that influences our mood, is stemmed from the gut. 70% of our immune system also stems from the gut, which I know everyone got an email on last Friday. We got cold and flu season that's going to be coming in the next few months. This is a really good time to focus on our gut health for our immune system. And then about 90% of illnesses are linked to an unhealthy gut. We're thinking about, sometimes pre and type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular health can be linked, liver health. There are a lot of different signs of poor gut health. So if you're noticing or experiencing any of these symptoms here, this is something that we can definitely talk about. Step 1 was removing offending foods. So I know a lot of people went and completed the food sensitivity test. If you want more information on that, please email me and I'll get that sent over to you. I do want to point out hormone imbalances. Here over the past month or so, I've been getting a lot of questions on hormone health, specifically your testosterone, progesterone, and estrogens. So I just wanted to point out that imbalanced gut microbes in men can actually decrease testosterone levels. When it comes to women, disrupted gut can increase insulin sensitivity, decrease insulin sensitivity, giving us insulin resistance, which will contribute to PCOS. And then we have a beta-glucuronidase, which is an enzyme that helps flush out extra estrogen. So for women, if you feel like you're been diagnosed or feel like you have extra estrogen in the body, we can definitely make sure that we're checking these enzymes out here, so that way you can flush out that extra estrogen naturally. All right. So we also have our step 2 was to remove pathogens and biofilms. We're specifically talking for our action steps in our mouth to start with. Remember, those biofilms act as protective shields that microbes use to, start their own colonies and take up shop, and we don't want that. So if you have any questions on step 1, 2, and 3 here, let me know and we can talk about that a little bit more in depth. We did start the whole, building our gut ecology, which are different fermented foods. We want the good, healthy bacteria. We talked about ox bile if you didn't have a gallbladder, digestive enzymes, apple cider vinegar, and how that can help boost our gut microbiome, which is going to segue into adding beneficial organisms for step 4. So I know I kind of went really fast trying to make this curated. Any questions so far? No? Okay. So we're going to talk about re-inoculate and what that means. All right, so we need to make sure that we're having, good bacteria, all different types of bacteria for our gut microbiome. And so when it comes to re-inoculate, that's something that we want to consider if we have prolonged stressors going on in our life, if we've been sick, a poor diet, different rounds of maybe antibiotics that maybe we haven't gotten the probiotics in afterwards, and other medications. So when we think about different probiotics, since we got prebiotics, postbiotics, SBO probiotics, what does that all mean, right? So we're going to think about our gut ecosystem like a garden. All right, this is the best analogy that I can come up with here. So we've got prebiotics. That's like the fertilizer. That's what those probiotics are going to eat. Okay, so what would be a prebiotic? We're thinking about fibrous foods like onions, garlic, asparagus, ginger, okay, to name a few. And then we've got the probiotics, which are the gardeners, okay? There's going to be fermentation going on here by bacteria. which is going to produce those postbiotics, which kind of think about the nutrients and tools left behind, right? And this is actually what we need. We need those, the production of short chain fatty acids. All right, that is made by the bacteria. That is where we're going to get most of our health benefits from. And then the SBOs are the soil-based organisms. Think of them as like hardy gardeners that thrive through tough conditions. So if we have conditions like maybe, we'll say SIBO, okay? We've got, bacteria in our small intestines. We're probably not going to want to go into a probiotic. We're going to want to do a soil-based organism probiotic. Okay, so if we have different elements going on in the body, you may need a different type of probiotic. So that's something we can definitely discuss. All right. So we need good and bad bacteria, right? So all bacteria actually serves a purpose in the gut. We just need to make sure that the probiotics and the bacteria that we are entering in the body is right for us. So there are a few recommendations that I would like to go over with that Dr. Lewis likes to recommend. One of them being a megaspore biotic. I've taken megaspore before. I felt like after I was done with the bottle that I had a little more sustainable energy throughout. But megaspore biotic is really good for individuals with food sensitivities and histamine intolerances. And if you're having you're actively having gut issues. It does contain 5 bacillus spores, which has a lot of benefits for people who have, say, a lot of bloating and cramping. It does help reduce diarrhea, have more better bowel movements throughout. Good for SIBO, candida, parasites, bacteria infections as well. Another one to look into is probiotic yeast, which is this one right here. I'm not going to try and pronounce. Saccharomyces boulardii. You can get this a lot in fermented kombucha tea and dairy products like Kiefer. This is actually really important and recommended if you have taken a round of antibiotics, just because this particular strain here can help prevent antibiotic resistance bacterial overgrowth. All right, another 2 to go over is one being Bravo probiotics and another one is Equilibrium. They're both really high ends and great probiotics. I've done the Bravo probiotics before. They have 300 different strains, different microbes in that. So it does have your prebiotic, your probiotic, and your postbiotic all in one. Now, when I did the Bravo probiotics, I would have told you up and down I didn't have any gut issues. I slept great. I had enough energy to last me for the day. I didn't have, the bloating, the normal gut issues that people complain about. My hormones were fine. I was like, I'm just going to test it out just so that way I can tell people about it, right? After a month of doing it, I actually noticed a difference. Apparently, my gut microbiome wasn't as diverse and healthy as I thought it was. So you can make it in the quote unquote like a yogurt. It could be like a non-dairy milk form. They also have freeze dried. This is something that would be really good if you feel like you're sick a lot. You have, say a lot of brain fog and you've tried other probiotics. That would be one to definitely maybe add in. Equilibrium, I have not personally tried, but I've known other people that have, and they felt like it's really did help them with their overall health and sense of well-being, whether that was energy, sleep, a lot of their bloating went away. When we think about our diet, we may think that we're getting in a variety of food, but the Equilibrium, I was researching this brand in particular. They did research on commonly missing strains that we don't get in our diet, especially the Western diet, and they added in there. So they say that they've got, 115 strains, 85 that no other probiotic supplement offers is what they pride themselves on, they talk about. So it'd be something to definitely check into if you've done other probiotics in the past and you have not, gotten the results that you were hoping for. Another good thing about the equilibrium is that it is vegetarian, gluten-free, and dairy-free. All right, so we've talked a lot about gut health. We know what to look for if we've got disturbances in our gut, right? We've talked about easy ways to whether it's introduce different foods, different bacterias. But what if our gut health is really very sensitive? All right, and we don't really know where to start. Yes, we can go ahead and throw in, say, 300 different microbes or 115 different strains. But are those the strains that you need for you? We don't know, right? Not unless you do some testing. So we talked about this last month, the GI map stool analysis testing. We can test this for different microbes in the body. What do you have maybe overpopulated in that could be causing issues? What are we lacking that could also be causing issues? What can we be adding in that can help, say, even reduce risk? I was actually listening to a podcast that, eventually, we may be able to, this would become standard, and we will know what bacteria is lacking that you can start taking to help maybe reduce your risk of dementia. That's how important these gut microbes are. So what is the best way to take a probiotic? Do we just want to say go to a CVS, Walmart, Walgreens, and just pick one right off the shelf and be good with it? And take it every day and see what happens. I mean, you can, but if you already have gut disturbances, the last thing you want is to add to it. So this is definitely having a conversation, whether it's with your doctor, health coach, myself, or Dr. Lewis, on the best ways to take a probiotic or how to incorporate one into your diet. Trying to get them in through food is going to be important. You're going to get, especially, if you're only doing dairy, you're only going to get really about 6 different strains of those microbes. You really need to try to add in a variety of different, like say fermented foods. If you do eat dairy, those not just the dairy foods with it. We want to start by seeding the gut. So taking one probiotic a week and working your way up. So we've got Dr. Lewis's calendar right here, day 1 through 7, and he's got, I think, about 3 different probiotics on there. So not saying you're going to go out and start all 3 probiotics. You're going to start with 1. Okay. There are some people that cannot even take a whole capsule of a probiotic because their gut health is just very sensitive and fragile at that point. So it may be just opening up a capsule and doing half of one. Okay. When we go through and think about where you want to start, you may want to start with an SBO. So it takes about 2 months to see results for constipation, and it takes about 3 months to see results for liver. This was part of that podcast that I was listening to with how probiotics can help our overall health. Now, we may get some what we call gut turbulence, okay? So we are reintroducing different microbes in the body. The body may not like those microbes all at once. They may not like them during that time period. So we really do have to try more than one time. If we have symptoms that last for days after taking it one time, I know that's, not ideal, but we need to try and take it again and see if we still have those same results. If so, then maybe we just need a different strain of those probiotics. trying to tell someone to try and write it out, I know is kind of cruel, but your body is, like I said, trying to get used to those probiotics that maybe is needed, and it's gonna kind of have to need that fighting chance. And then you can start adding in those fermented foods and other probiotics as you start your journey. Any questions there? No? Okay. Going through different probiotic foods and prebiotic foods, I will actually send this out to everybody so that way you have that list along with the links to the different pro and prebiotics and SBO probiotics and to Dr. Lewis's podcast here. All right, so this is going to be the action step for the month, okay? How are we going to add in those beneficial bacteria? Are we going to start a probiotic or SBO biotic regimen? Are we going to start adding in, these foods into our diet, or a combination of both? All right, and then we've got next month, we're going to be part 5, and it's going to be adding in fiber and grit, what that looks like, and the breaking down of food, so that pre-digestion. All right, short and sweet. If you have any questions about